An alloy is
Malenia for free. Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with another Vati video, and this is Elden Ring's Demigods Explained. Now, I am recording this before I have, honestly, a few days before I upload my first Vati video, so I do not know what the reception to that was like. Have I been crucified or not by the internet for disliking From Software fanboy's favorite game of all time? I do not know. I do not have foresight. But I really did enjoy Vati's video. The way he explained things, I just really liked. And honestly, the demigods, again, are another part of the game that I am curious about that I felt did not get proper enough explanation for me. I feel like I really only understood two of the demigods by the time I had finished playing the game, and that was Ranni and Radahn. And I think those are the two that had the most outright discussions around them, or dialogue regarding them throughout the game. Um, Godwyn the Golden wasn't really talked about all, I feel like, except for him getting killed. Morgott and Mohg, honestly, I kind of didn't really learn anything about them. Radahn you hear about, and I guess through him you learn a little bit about Malenia, what the fuck you pronounce her name, because of their war, but I still feel like you learned way more about Radahn than you did about Malenia, the Blade of Miquella. Ranni you learn a lot about because of her quest line. Rykard didn't really get a lot except he became a lizard. Didn't learn anything about Miquella except Miquella ended up boinking this person, or of course, as we learned in the previous Vati video, he is also what's her face? Wait, no, Am I mixing them up? Miquella is Miquella Radahn? I don't know. I'm confused. I thought, wait, no, I'm mixing things up, aren't I? No, Miquella is something else. I'm lost. I confused myself. Ignore me. Ignore me. Um, but anyways, um, yeah. Uh, I think that's enough to say there. Let's just go ahead and get this video started. I want to understand things. Maybe like I want to enjoy things. I really do. Um, it's just the way the video game conveyed this information is not my cup of tea. But I really do want to learn and understand the lore of the game because I enjoyed what was there, what was outright given to me and provided. Just the way the gameplay was for me and the menu system just made me not want to look into it myself through the video game. Instead, I want to through it through people on the internet explaining it to me, which is not how it should be, but that's how it is. Rant over, diving in.
the demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika. There was Godwyn, Morgott, Mohg, Radahn, Rykard, Ranni,
My wife.
Miquella, and Malenia, Blade of
My other wife.
Malenia, Blade of Miquella, Malenia, Blade of Miquella, and Malenia. Not again, all of these demigods.
Yeah. That's the one thing that kind of also turns me off a lot about From Software games is that you just specifically this happens with difficult games in general that have a system similar to Elden Ring and From Software games is you just end up hearing the same fucking dialogue. You have to go through the same fucking cutscene several times until you beat it, and that's just something that ends up pissing me off. Which is why it's like I personally believe that now, of course, this is right. A boss should take a normal boss, like at the end of a dungeon, like I personally think like out of this list, Morgott and Mohg, um, Radahn, Rykard, and even Malenia. I feel like those bosses should be designed to really only take 3 or 4 tries. Because again, the golden rule kind of a lot of things we humans like is the rule of 3. We love the rule of 3. So I feel like the average, right? You get a bunch of players, get a good sample size of QA or whatever, of quality assurance, of testers and whatnot, and you design a boss to kind of a close average in the 3 to 6 range. In the 3 to 6 range, I feel like is a good amount of tries to where it's not too easy, and it's not it doesn't take me 5 fucking hours to beat. Now, of course, this is different for the final boss, right? The Radahn and the Elden Beast should take more tries than that. Should take longer. I do believe that should be the case. And also the first boss, right? When you first go to the front of Stormveil Castle and you fight Morgott. Morgott takes a long time on your first playthrough because you kind of are being stubborn and you don't want to give up, and then you're like, okay, I can't beat him. Go around and go and get some more runes, level up a little bit more, explore more of Limgrave, and then come back and kick his ass, right? That's okay. The first boss, the first boss that is to then set the standard for the game should take more than that average, right? That 3 to 6, I believe. And the final boss should take more than the average. Everything in between should average out 3 to 6 tries for the average gamer to beat. Now, for me, most of the bosses did only end up taking me 2 or 3 tries at the most of them. Radahn, I think I got second try, and again, I played it just this year. I finally beat the game just this year. I beat him like second or third try, I think it was second. And right, so I'm doing it post nerf. I'm not fighting Radahn as he was on release, the infamous release Radahn. But like, I personally believe Malenia should not have taken as many tries as it does. Like, she's a boss that is kind of out of the way, unless you're really trying to just do everything in the game. Right? She's not needed to. She's an optional boss to fight. An optional boss to fight should not fucking take me like 20 goddamn tries. Okay? God. Oh. Anyways, that was a rant.
Had fallen from grace by the time the
That's
shattering
just my personal opinion on gameplay and stuff like that
occurred. But in this video, I want to mostly talk about the origins of these characters, who these demigods were before the fall. And some of these demigods fell a long way indeed. Before he became this unsightly mess, Godwyn the Golden was quite the heroic figure. He was born of the promising union between Lord Godfrey and Queen Marika, and he achieved great renown for his bravery in one of their wars at least, the War of the Ancient Dragons. This war began when Grandsax, a great ancient dragon, rained calamity down upon Leyndell, marking the only time in historical record that Leyndell's walls had fallen. It's not clear why Grandsax first attacked, but fortifying themselves against lightning, the Knights of the Erdtree weathered his assault and Grandsax was defeated. However, this was only the beginning, and a bitter war against the ancient dragons was to follow. During this war, the Erdtree Sentinels had an epiphany that the only way to truly protect the Erdtree was to become dragons themselves, And so, despoiling the corpses of their foes, the grotesque sentinels served the Erdtree, but fought with the claws of the enemy instead. In the end, the ancient dragons were routed once again. In a graveyard of swords by the Stormcaller Church, the end of the war is commemorated. Here, we learn that during battle, Godwyn the Golden defeated Fortisax, called the mightiest dragon of them all. However, he did not kill Fortisax. Instead, he befriended him. And it was in this act that the powers of the ancient dragons truly became a part of Leyndell. After all, only those loved by dragons can survive the ordeal of cladding their bodies in lightning. So, from an unlikely friendship, an ancient dragon cult was born in the capital city, and the Knights of Leyndell learned to worship the dragons and wield their lightning. Lanciax, sister of Fortisax, even took human form to better commune with the knights. It was officially decided that the worship of the ancient dragons did not conflict with belief in the Erdtree, and it was all thanks to Godwyn, commander of the dragon's golden lightning, and a true child of the golden lineage.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't know if this is a shared opinion widely or not. I fucking hated Leyndell. I hated exploring it. I felt it just looked, every single inch of Leyndell just looked too similar to the previous part of Leyndell. I struggled to maneuver, to explore, wander through that city. I hated it.
But now, let's talk about Morgott and Mohg, the Omen twins, who were also born of Godfrey and Marika's golden lineage. First, what is an Omen? Well, to put it...
So I killed Morgott, because obviously you have to kill him to progress. Mohg, I only killed the version of Mohg that is underneath Leyndell. I did not kill the Mohg in his palace or whatever. I just didn't want to play anymore.
It's simply, an omen is an accursed child, seen as impure, as they are born with horns on the body and face. When this happens, the correct thing to do, culturally at least, is to cut off the horns of the omen, an act which usually causes them to perish. It's pretty messed up.
That's fucked
but
up.
Some omen do survive this process, and some omen are even given a cleaver, crafted specifically for them and awarded as a tool of war, although these weapons are bestowed with a readiness to take them away. We find one such omen in an Erdtree camp upon the Altus Plateau. Before you fight it, you might have noticed another omen nearby, writhing in its sleep. It's said that omens see evil spirits in their nightmares, and I think this omen is dreaming, haunted by the vengeful spirits of its accursed kin. This brings us to the Omen Killers, who are horrifying butchers of twisted conscience. They wear these horned masks that make a mockery of the Omen's nightmares, and these butchers hunt the Omen and amputate their horns. The first Omen Killer was named Rollo, a famous perfumer who had to imbibe a physic to rid himself of emotion so that he could better perform his tasks. Remember, it seems many omen have their horns excised when they're very young. That's definitely disturbing enough to warrant an emotion-killing physic in my book.
Yeah.
However, if the omen is born of royalty, then their horns are not cut off, but the omen is kept underground, unbeknownst to anyone, and imprisoned for
That's also really fucked up.
eternity. By way of example, you would have seen all kinds of omen confined to the sewers beneath Leyndell.
Yeah, those fuckers were a bitch. I hated them.
But why are omen considered to be accursed in the first place? Some of them are clearly intelligent, so what's inherently wrong with being born with horns and great strength? Well, it's important to remember, I think, that this curse might only really exist in the context of the Golden Order. After all, those afflicted with omen horns are not able to return to the Erdtree for rebirth, and are said to be born outside of its grace. But why does the Golden Order disavow the omen, then? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but my working theory is that it's to do with the Crucible. According to this ancient incantation, horns were once an aspect of the Erdtree's primordial crucible.
It's also possible that the crucible isn't a place, rather it could be a crucible of conflict.
Where all life was once blended together. And with the exception of a couple of crucible nights in and around Leyndell, we know that the Golden Order has started to distance itself from most things that touch upon the crucible. While things like horns, knots, feathers, and scales once grew on the human body and were considered signifiers of the divine, now they are disdained as impurities as civilization has advanced. We learn this from the knot, scale, and feather talismans.
Additionally, Morgott has a tail and Mohg gains feathered wings in Phase 2. These are also aspects of the crucible.
All of which are guarded by omen, or dropped by omen killers, no less. Unfortunately for...
So this theory stuff and the note bits that are here at the bottom, that kind of stuff, I'm fine with being kind of left. That kind of information, I'm fine with being left up in the air for player interpretation and to be found through guiding or through exploring and stuff like that, and theories. That kind of stuff, that's totally fine. I think I brought up some examples in the previous video that I can't quite remember what they were. About what I felt like should not be left in the air and should have been explained.
For the Order of the Erdtree, these once divine impurities seem to crop up in some births, whether they like it or not. Almost like it's a genetic trait, as if it touches upon the crucible at the root of the Erdtree. And so you have to ask, is it really a curse to be born as a graceless omen? Well, as with most curses in these games, I think that depends on your perspective. In any case, Mohg and Morgott were omen royalty, and thus they were born into a wretched mire far below the earth, horns and all. Here they were kept under...
Fuck this bitch of a... I hate these fuckers. These are the worst things to fight in the world.
The strictest confinement. Each of them were bound with charmed shackles that were covered in roots or thorns and bathed in golden magic. It seems very few people were supposed to know that they even existed. Morgott, for his part, renounced and despised his accursed omen blood, but his brother Mohg embraced it. Deep underground, Mohg stood before an outer god, a being called the Formless Mother, who craves wounds, a being capable of bestowing power upon accursed blood. In this moment, Mohg's accursed blood erupted with fire, and he became besotted with the defilement that he was born into. Here, deep below the earth, he would go on to build a dynasty of blood in reverence of a mother, something it seems he never truly had. As for Morgott, he was born into the same accursed fate as his twin brother, but despite not being blessed with grace, he loved the Erdtree all the same, and even took it upon himself to crawl out of the sewers and become the Erdtree's protector when the Erdtree needed him most. In the end, he rightfully became the Omen King and Lord of Leyndell. Omen or not, he was, after all, born of Godfrey and Marika's golden lineage. Of course, the marriage between Godfrey and Marika would be ended, and before long, Marika remarried with another man, a champion named Radahn, who Marika calls her other half. He became second Elden Lord and the king consort, but he also brought with him 3 children from a previous marriage that he had had with a Carian queen named Rennala. These children were Ranni, Rykard, and Radahn, and they all became demigod stepchildren after Radagon's reunion with Queen Marika.
I understand.
Possessed of his father's flaming red hair, Radahn was fond of its heroic implications and considered himself to be born of a great champion. Yet he also looked up to another man, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, Queen Marika's first husband and the Lord of the Battlefield. But Radahn wasn't just the son of Radahn and an aspiring Lord of the Battlefield, he was also the son of Rennala, who was head of the Academy of Raya Lucaria and Queen of Caria. So as a Carian royal, inclined towards sorcery, Radahn bent his will towards mastering gravitational magics. Rock sling, gravity well, collapsing stars. These techniques were taught to him in Celia, the town of sorcery, all so he would never have to abandon his beloved but scrawny steed. That said, before long, his powers would be put towards a more cosmic purpose than simply
I understand you love your horse, Radahn. Put him out of his misery. He's struggling there, man.
allowing him to ride his own horse. Radahn was taught gravitational magic by an alabaster lord, a member of a race of ancients with skin of stone who were said to have risen to life when a meteor struck long ago. And when his lessons were complete, Radahn uttered these chilling words.
Thank you for your tutelage. For now, I can challenge the stars.
And, of course, he did conquer the stars, and the very constellations would be halted by his strength. But of course, you kind of have to ask, why? Why was it necessary to conquer the stars in the first place? Well, I have a couple of theories. Theory one is that it was done in self-defense. After all, according to the sword gravestone, Radahn was protecting Celia. What's more, gravitational magic has destructive power, and many gravitational beasts are proof of that destructive power.
Fuck those beasts, too. Specifically this one that this clip is showing. I know exactly where this one is. This one is by Rykard's manor, north of that fucking manor, at the top of like a fucking mountain. I couldn't kill this bitch. I hated this one. I gave up on trying to fight him. Fuck these gravitational meteor bitch beasts.
A being named Astel had even come down to the lands between in the past and destroyed a place called the Eternal City. What's more, Celians are descendants of the Eternal, positioned right above the Eternal City underground, so there is an argument to be made for Radahn purely defending Celia for some reason here. But it's possible for Radahn to have fought in this conflict and to have made the first move as well, so this is theory 2. That Radahn conquered the stars as a preventative measure in service to the greater will. According to a set of astrologer items, the night sky cradles fate. There's even a banished sect of people called the Nox, who live deep below the earth in eternal anticipation of the coming age of stars and their Lord of Night. Long ago, these people invoked the ire of the greater will, so it would make sense that those in service to the greater will might have sought to arrest the stars and put an end to this fate. What's more, Radahn was just a huge fanboy of Godfrey, and he seems to have more loyalty to the Erdtree than to the moon. Finally, the telescope item description says that the fate once writ in the night skies had been fettered by the Golden Order, so surely this is referencing Radahn's actions, and it levels the blame at the Golden Order. But putting Radahn's motivations aside, it's a fact that the stars were held back and that this had great consequences for many, especially for the rest of his Carian royal family.
Let me explain. The fate of the Carian royal family is guided by the stars, as is the fate of Lady Ranni, first heir in the Carian royal line. But General Radahn is the conqueror of the stars, who stood up to the swirling constellations, halting their movement in a smashing victory. And so, if General Radahn were defeated, the stars would once again resume their movement, as would Lady Ranni's destiny.
Lunar Princess Ranni was
My wife.
the daughter of Radahn and Rennala, and sister to Radahn. Interestingly, if you look at her true body atop the Divine Tower, it looks like she might have also inherited the red hair of Radahn. Cool detail. But
Nice.
unlike her brother,
cool detail.
Radahn, she quite clearly took after her mother more, who was Rennala, head of the Carian royal family. The House of Caria has this storied history, one that seems to go way back.
I hated fucking fighting those fingers, hand things. Fuck those things. I also, you see that little bitch there? Those are the things that fucking take you into their chest. Yeah, I just ran past and didn't even bother fighting him. This was around I think it was honestly probably around this time where I kind of started just running through things instead of fighting everything. It was just like so repetitive by this point.
Back to the astrologers. In the Carian Manor, we find one of their treasures, the Sword of Night and Flame.
Dude, that sword had such a cool title, but it was like, this is one of my complaints, and this is a complaint shared by Nikki Jakey. If y'all haven't watched Nikki Jakey's videos, go watch his videos. They are so good. But he made an Elden Ring video, and he complained about the upgrade system and how it works in Elden Ring, and I agree on it. I felt like I felt like I wasn't really being given enough, like, I just felt I didn't feel like I could really explore the other weapons, because it was like, well, I just spent all this time, all these resources upgrading this one weapon. Why would I then spend those same resources to get this weapon up to the same, like, it was just like, let me at the very least, right, it doesn't take anything away from the player, from your game, if you just let someone, like, I don't know, take away all the, like, just degrade their one weapon, put it back down to 0, and then just move all those resources to another weapon. Like, you can even have, I don't know, at 10% loss of resources, and that, like, it's like, okay, you can have these resources back. You can have 90% of these resources back. You lose 10% of them in the degrading process or whatever. That would be fine for me as well, because, like, it felt like I used the same, like, pretty much I used the same sword from once I got it till the very end, because it was like, well, I just dumped in, several thousand runes, and by the end of the game, I don't know how many runes, tens of thousands, 100,000, I don't know how many runes it ended up costing at the end, and the rare smithing stones, right? That you find the smithing bells or whatever, you can, the mining bells, you can buy them, but still, like, it was just like, I did not feel motivated. The game did not feel like it was giving me enough motivation to really, or reward to warrant spending the time and resources to upgrade a different weapon, to find out whether or not I'm going to like it as much, right? Like, I can look at a weapon, I'm like, ooh, I want to try it out, but you can't really effectively try it out until you get it up to the same, like, level as the weapon you're currently using, that's a beef I have in terms of the gameplay. It's just like, it's a single player game. Yeah, there's some multiplayer and PvP, but, like, it doesn't really hurt anything to just let the player degrade one weapon, keep those resources or most of those resources that have been spent, and just switch it over to a different weapon. It doesn't change anything. It just takes away a grind. And, like, I'm playing a single player story game here. There should not be a grind. This is not a fucking MMO. If it was an MMO, sure, it makes fucking sense, but it's not. It's a single player story game. Let me have more freedom to switching around my builds. Like, rant over.
Reads,
for now.
astrologers who preceded the sorcerers
Such a cool looking sword, but I didn't use it because, again,
established
they don't wanna
themselves
spend
in
the resources.
mountaintops that nearly touched the sky and considered the fire giants their neighbors. Rennala herself was an astrologer, always chasing the stars in her youth. Then she met the full moon, and in time, the astrologer became a queen, establishing the House of Caria as royalty. Caria appears to have a matriarchal hierarchy, with multiple princesses and Carian knights that serve as their retainers. Now, however, there is only one princess, Ranni, daughter of Rennala. And at the time of her birth, she would have been set to inherit quite a lot of power indeed, for the Carian royal family was at its height, and her mother was not only queen, she was also head of the Academy of Raya Lucaria, having bewitched them with the enchanting power of the full moon. Leading the young Ranni by the hand, Rennala guided her daughter to a meeting with a moon of her own. What Ranni beheld was cold, dark, and veiled in occult mystery. A dark moon, a sort of twin to Renala's own full moon. You can even see both of these hanging in the sky if you stargaze from the heights of the Moonlight Plateau. Another who guided Ranni was a character called the Snowy Crone, who the young Ranni encountered deep in the woods. When you look at Ranni, it's actually the likeness of this snow witch that you're seeing, as the doll that now houses Ranni's soul was modelled after her, probably as a sign of respect. Clearly, Ranni looked up to this mysterious woman. She became Ranni's secret mentor, and she even knew about the Dark Moon, teaching the young Ranni to fear it as she imparted her cold sorceries. So, what do these moons represent? That's just a theory, but I think the moons kind of act as guides. The lost black moon of Noxtella, for example, was the guide of countless stars. What's more, Ranni and Renala were heavily influenced by their moons. Renala's moon bewitched the academy that she became the head of, and Ranni's dark moon, for its part, also imparts wisdom and leads a voyage in the Age of Stars ending. They could even be outer gods. And yet, for all of this guidance, Caria and Leonia as a whole have experienced steep decline. Radahn betrayed the House of the Moon. Radahn locked the stars out of motion. The Academy town is flooded to the north. Caria has been ruined in the west, and the stars and moon have gone their separate ways. Nevertheless, Ranni, last princess of Caria, remains, carefully setting new plans into motion. Sibling to Ranni and Radahn was a man named Rykard, who was lord of the Volcano Manor. There is evidence that Rykard was friendly with his siblings. He conspired with his sister Ranni later on, and there's even a portrait of Radahn hung in the Volcano Manor,
I didn't even see
as
that one.
well as a portrait of Rykard himself.
That
before
one
the
you
fall.
obviously see.
Item descriptions mark Rykard as stern, ambitious, heroic, and blasphemous. A part of this blasphemy was opposing the Erd Tree, which actually drew many knights to his banner, for Rykard believed in taking by force, just as the gods did, and clearly many believed that he would usher in a new age. The armor set of the Gelmir Knights reveals to us what were once very loyal soldiers. The crest of red feathers are there to symbolize Rykard's pedigree as Lord Radagon's son, and the emblem upon their chest piece represents a lord who had lofty ambitions. However, as Rykard delved into the ancient secrets of Mount Gelmir, he came across the immortal Great Serpent, an ancient deity that aligned with Rykard's ambitions. And so, Rykard fed himself.
You know, I thought Rykard's fight was kind of just dumb. And like it was a very gimmicky fight, and I missed picking up the spear that's supposed to make it like completely easy. But I think I still got him first try. And it's just I don't like the my personal taste did not like the design of the Rykard fight. I just thought it was kind of dumb.
To the Great Serpent, so that he might devour, grow, and live eternally. Alas, this was too much for his knights, and they believed that their master's heroic ambitions had degenerated into mere greed. So they searched desperately for a weapon with which they might halt their lord, and they found it too. The immortal serpent had lived for a long time, and so there was also a weapon to kill it that had been designed long ago as well, a serpent hunter. But it was too late. As the lord lost his dignity, so too did the knights lose their master. Not that it bothered Rykard.
Now we can devour God together.
Together.
Next, we need to discuss Malenia and Miquella.
I will continue to mention this in every single video that Malenia is in. I almost beat her first fucking try. I was so close. I was 2 swings away. And then, from that point on, after that close success, I never got that close again. Every single attempt after that was just embarrassing failure. And then for some reason, then I ended the stream It was then the next day at the very beginning of stream, the very first try of that new stream of the following day, I beat her. I don't know why. I don't know why that worked. But fuck Malenia, man. Ah.
These two were twins as they were born. No, Rykard, please. Anyway, as you know, Radagon's marriage with Rennala did not last. Afterwards, he returned to the Golden Order and became Queen Marika's consort. But what I haven't yet mentioned is that together they were blessed with two demigod children.
I heard that. I heard that, Vati.
But what I haven't yet mentioned is that together they were blessed
Very subtle. I love it.
with two demigod children, the so-called twin prodigies. Now, in the last lore video, I briefly proposed that these two twins were born after the Shattering, after Radagon and Marika had merged together to become a single god. However, I've since changed my mind. I think Malenia and Miquella were clearly born before the Shattering. There's just so much proof that these two twins were a force that were influencing the world long before the Shattering took place. Anyway, both of these twins were born afflicted. Specifically in the Japanese text, it's said that their births were vulnerable. Miquella was born afflicted with eternal youth, and Malenia, for her part, was vulnerable to rot. Interestingly, Malenia's scarlet rot is actually an outer god. This outer god, like many others in the game, seems to have an order that is able to be imposed upon the world via an Empyrean vessel, and Malenia was that vessel. And while the scarlet rot is pretty terrible, you can sort of argue that it's got a beauty to it.
No.
According to Gowry, the order of rot is resplendent. It's a cycle of death and rebirth, kind of like the lotus flower, which is a flower that blooms anew, beautiful and fresh from mud. I actually have art of this flower hanging in my home. I always love the symbol of it. I actually have lots of art hanging now, and I'm going to talk about all of this artwork that you can buy at the end of the video. Anyway, so Malenia the Empyrean was vulnerable to and afflicted by the scarlet rot. There was said to be no cure to this, and while fire and consecration seemed to be somewhat effective at warding it off, Malenia would slowly lose her physical self to the rot. Interestingly, old legends of the Scarlet Rot have persisted in the world for generations, and we learn more about the Rot God from the Blue Dancer charm. The dancer in blue represents a fairy who, in legend, bestowed a flowing sword upon a blind swordsman. Blade in hand, the swordsman sealed away an ancient god, a god that was rot itself. Specifically, this god was long ago sealed away in the stagnant water that is downstream of the Ainsel River underground. And wherever rot appears, the kindred of rot appear as well. These are pests and servants
those guys
of the
too.
rot. And now, in the current age, these are servants that have been forsaken by Malenia, who is their new goddess. So, this blind swordsman with the flowing curved sword actually went on to become Malenia's mentor. So technically it's him that we have to blame for this goddamn attack. The prosthesis wearer heirloom tells us more. A talisman engraved with a scene from a heroic tale. Though born into the accursed rot, when the young girl encountered her mentor and his flowing blade, she gained wings of unparalleled strength. Malenia's ridiculous attack is called the Waterfowl Dance, and aesthetically it makes sense that, flowing waters would counter the effects of rot. For just as still waters turn foul, stagnation turns to decay. Thus, warriors must remain ever drifting. And indeed, Malenia does resist the call of the rot. There's a lot of evidence that she's not really a willing vessel, but through sheer will and sense of self, she resists the rot, and only when she is truly pressed in battle will she abandon this will and bloom into the goddess within. Malenia's first bloom was during her fight against Radahn, and releasing her scarlet rot was a last-ditch effort that would forever taint the land of Caelid and cripple Radahn. So, whatever she was fighting for in this fight against Radahn, somehow it was worth this terrible act.
Are we sure about that, though? Are we sure it was worth it? Are we sure? I feel like Haven't been given enough evidence to really say one way or the other.
In general terms, at least, it's clear that Malenia was fighting for her brother. Apart from the times where she relapses into being the goddess of rot, she is known as the Blade of Miquella. She actually goes to great lengths to tell you this. I don't know if you heard. Despite being the toughest boss in From Software history, she's actually fighting for his right to godhood, not her own. In Malenia's own words, her brother Miquella possesses the wisdom, the allure of a god. He is the most fearsome Empyrean of all. For his part, Miquella did a lot to earn his sister's dedication, not the least of which was inspiring her armor and a prosthetic of unalloyed gold. And it's not just his sister that loved Miquella, many people did. The Bewitching Branch is an item that you can use to turn enemies into temporary allies, and it reads, "Indeed, he has learned very well how to compel such affection." For his father Radahn, Miquella fashioned and gifted to him a fundamentalist incantation called Triple Rings of Light. Radahn then returns the favor, gifting back an incantation called Radaghn's Rings of Light. These interactions show some of Miquella's positive connections with his father and also Golden Order fundamentalism. And yet, the young Miquella abandoned fundamentalism, for it could do nothing to treat Malenia's accursed rot. This was the beginning of unalloyed gold. So, what is unalloyed gold? Well, an alloy is
Malenia. For free? Oh wait, no, yeah, you guys see my face at the cover.
alloy is a composition of metals, so unalloyed gold is pure gold, essentially, with no external mixtures. This gold apparently can ward away the meddling of outer gods, and so Miquella bent a lot of his efforts towards creating an unalloyed gold needle. Specifically, this needle was crafted for his sister, to ward off the rot god and forestall the effects of the incurable rotting sickness. We see the bond between the siblings as well when we visit Miquella's Haligtree. We see a statue of a one-armed woman embracing a child, Miquella. In this place, we see the biggest example of Miquella's benevolence, the Haligtree, and the society that was built into the brace that supports it. This was a promised land, seen as a salvation to many who were shunned or persecuted, provided that they can actually find the path here, of course. And like many other Empyreans, Miquella seems to have had the will within them to create a new order, and his is an order that's somewhat modeled on the ones that came before it. The biggest thing is that the Haligtree is clearly inspired by the Erdtree. But the difference is that Miquella's Haligtree is said to be accepting of all, even those the Erdtree shuns. Miquella himself was once embedded inside of the Haligtree, and he watered it with his very own blood since it was a mere sapling. Tragically, however, he was ripped out of this womb during the shattering, and his Haligtree ultimately failed to grow into an Erdtree, becoming a misshapen husk instead. But
What happened to Miquella, though? Like, that's one thing either that's just not answered at all, talked about at all. Are there any theories about where the fuck Miquella went?
that's the story for another day.
God damn it.
There's also a ton of cut content to do with Miquella, and he's one of the most mysterious demigods, who I'm sure we'll
I am also assuming that the DLC is probably going to be discussing Miquella. I don't know if I'll play it. I probably won't. I probably won't. But unless someone buys it for me. I think I would play it if someone buys it for me, because that's my personal rule. If someone buys me something, I'll at least play it for like a week. Or until I beat it, whichever comes first, either a week or until I beat it. And if I don't enjoy it after that week, then I just stop. But anyways, yeah. I want to know more, but it's just the way Elden Ring conveys the information in game is just not my cup of tea, and it just frustrates me. And so I'm left sitting here with an extremely fucking confused relationship with this game. It's like, on one hand, I'm like, there are so many cool, dope-ass ideas, and I want to learn more. On the other hand, fuck this game.
learn about more later. But there is one more thing that I want to mention before I...
What about the girl that you are finding that unalloyed gold needle or whatever for? The one that's in um you meet in Caelid. Can't remember her name, but you do it's like kind of like a long. She's also inflicted with rot and kind of similarly has the red hair of Radahn. I saw somewhere online that people think she might be another child of Radahn or something. I don't know. Is she? Is she not? I liked her. I helped her out. She's alive in my game. She was alive. I don't know what happened to her after I finished her quest line, but I helped her out. She was a homie. Anyway, she had one arm just like Malenia. What was the deal with her? Was that, or did Malenia have a child that's never talked about?
It's kind of one theory I had during the making of this video. So, Miquella and Malenia each have their own butterflies. Malenia's is the Aeonian butterfly, which inhabit the swamp of Aeonia and are rumored to come from the wings of the rot goddess herself. And I think it's fair to say that Miquella's butterfly is the nascent butterfly, which appears as if it's just emerged from its cocoon for its entire life. This is a reference to Miquella's eternal youth and his cocoon in the Haligtree. But there is, of course, a third butterfly, right? There's the smoldering butterfly. It's said to be an eternally burning butterfly that serves as kindling. Now bear with me, but it's my theory that this butterfly is a reference to Melina, who the Blade of Calling calls the kindling maiden and the one who walks alongside flame. This might suggest that Melina is a sibling to Malenia and Miquella. Again, that's just a theory, but what I really want to talk about here is that, at the very least, Melina is almost certainly the daughter of Marika. We learned this a long time ago from looking at her name in the game's files, and we can further infer it from her dialogue.
Oh, that's interesting, with a spoiler like that was just in the files. Okay.
As she has a few lines that refer to mothers and one that says that she was born inside the Erd tree. So, her being the daughter of Marika is also just a theory, but this one is much more concrete than the butterfly one. Although the reason I like the butterfly theory is that it gives us a hint as to who Melina's parents might have been. Her parents would have been Radahn and Marika, which is to say, Marika herself alone, I guess, because Radahn is Marika. Honestly.
And it also, that would then, oh man, I'm gonna fucking throw some theory connection here. That gives weight to his, I think it was his theory in the previous video that he talked about. He believes that Marika is the one that sets everything on this path, right? Marika does the shattering. And then Radahn like seals her away or something. I can't remember the exact specifics, but like, right? And Marika kind of sets everything down this path to supposedly, if you believe this theory, Marika is the one that sets everything down this path to break the Golden Order or whatever, right? And so it kind of would make sense that she would then have a daughter, Melina, used as kindling. It thematically, see, this is where the writing is good for Elden Ring, because again, I'm someone, if you watch my all my other trope talks and stuff like that, you will hear me constantly talk about theme. I'm a big fan of theme. I think theme is excruciatingly important to a story. I think it's one of the most important things to a story, if not most important part of a story, is a story's theme, what it's trying to get across, or whatever, its internal consistencies, etc., blah, 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 and a lot of stuff with theme. But like with Melina, she fits, right? Talking about this, going on, it thematically fits my understanding, at least, of Elden Ring. Dog decides to interrupt me while I'm going off on a theory connection here. It just, in my eyes, it fits. It just It just works.
Melina as a character has only become more mysterious since the game was released, and I'm really only scratching the surface with this theory. But speaking of times before Elden Ring was released, back then, a long time ago, I commissioned this piece from a renowned artist named Marco, and now I'm so excited to reveal it for the first time. This storybook scene is heavily inspired by the early looks we had at Elden Ring, with a red-haired protagonist, spirit companions, a mount that looks like Yakul and a bit like Torrent, and a few other hidden details in the piece. This piece and all of my other prints are now available over at Spring, where you can actually buy them fully framed and ready to hang. They actually ship with a beautiful frame. The frame itself is a nice black satin finish, and you can even opt for a white border around the print, which I think looks really classy.
Honestly, damn, I wish. Oh, I'm gonna have to see how much those cost, because that art is fucking beautiful. I really do like. Damn. Am I an Elden Ring hater about to buy some Elden Ring art? Because that's gorgeous painting, dude. I will probably, if you watch the video all the way to the end here, I will probably write in the comment section in my pinned comment whether or not I ordered a piece of art from Vati, from Vati's store or whatever. Because holy shit, this kind of art style, this is my shit. This is my kind of shit. I love this just aesthetic. It's also very Studio Ghibli kind of in my eyes. Specifically the castle here is just giving me Studio Ghibli vibes, and the ruins close to the forefront. Anyways,
in certain cases, I think these posters are a cool way to support the channel and artists, and for you to actually get something in return that will make your room look better. So check out my prints if you're interested, but this is the end. And
yeah, I think honestly you guys might, and I don't know if I will be able to see this. So I have you can see right behind me there is it's too thin to hang anything. Too thin to hang poster, those sizes. I don't know. I'd want to, have it be visible, but it might not be able to be done. I have other spots in my room on my wall that I want to swap out what I currently have hanging there for different stuff. Anyways, yeah, this was another great video by Vati. Honestly, I'm probably just not gonna even give a shit about how this does in views. I just think these videos are so well fucking made that I'm just gonna keep fucking watching them because I just enjoy them so fucking much. A lot like the Great War series that I've been watching for the past like couple years now. It doesn't do that great in views, but the videos themselves are so well made that I just keep watching them. And also, people said, well, no, I doubt you will actually watch the entire series. So people challenged me with that, and so I am still watching. But this was Elden Ring's Demigods explained by Vati. Again, another fantastic video that honestly is post playthrough of Elden Ring making me look back on the game a bit more fondly. Still not a fan of how the information was conveyed inside of the game, but the fact that there are people that are able to look at the lore still, collect everything, and then make that information more accessible still speaks to the quality of work within the game. And again, I'll keep saying it. It was just not my cup of tea the way the information was conveyed. But the way Vati explains the information is definitely my cup of tea. So anyways, with all of that rambling done, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.